Hello, everybody. Here I am, Colin McKay, for the Music and History channel. I'm going to tell you about a personal music history story that happened when I saw Chuck Berry. Yeah, at the Ritz on February 20th, 1993. Going back. And of course, a few years before, I had many chances to see Stevie Ray Vaughan and did not take the chance to see him. Either I had to work, I didn't have the money, and blah, blah, blah. It was always a story. And then, of course, sadly, he died. And I said, man, I got to see my favorites, got to make a point. And Chuck Berry's always been one of my favorites because of his lyrics, because of his guitar playing, his stage performance, the whole rock and roll kit and caboodle. He is the king of rock and roll as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So it was high time to see Chuck Berry. And if you know anything about Chuck Berry, the Ritz is a big old ballroom. And if you know anything about Chuck Berry, he doesn't travel with a band. The promoter is just to provide a band familiar with Chuck Berry music, right? If you're playing rock and roll music, you better know Chuck Berry music. This was Chuck's reasoning. So he comes out, and it's a packed place. Everyone's excited, yelling, Chuck, 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 And he comes out with this 50-foot guitar cable just wrapped in a great big ball. And I thought, that's weird. And he comes right to the front of the stage, up to the microphone, and announces how he's going to unravel this cable. And he hopes that we're all patient. And it's hard to get good help these days, but you got to go with the flow and stay in the moment. And I'm like, wow, we're getting a philosophy lesson from Chuck Berry. Anyway, it takes him a good 10 minutes to unwrap this cable, and when he finally does, he just marches over to his amplifier, plugs it in, and hits the guitar chord, and proceeds to play. And the band is like, I think he's in B flat, we don't know. Chuck likes to play in piano keys, even though there was not a piano present at this particular show. Anyway, so we're off to the races. Chuck is playing all the hits, all the songs that he's probably sang, thousands of times, but in an odd way. And this was the magic of the show. It was as if he was playing them for the first time. And I thought, that's magical. It's like it was chaotic and beautiful and nostalgic, but in the moment, all at the same time. And Chuck is like, deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back among the woods by the evergreens. He's doing all the little parts differently. If you're hooked on the hit song, he doesn't do that. And it's like, no, Chuck's just going to do it his way. And it's like he's practicing the guitar with a new chord. Kind of like, yeah. And then he'd stare at his guitar as if it was a brand new thing he had never touched. Of course, he did the duck walk. Of course, he even crawled around on the ground like a snake on his back. Not for too long. I think he thought the floor was dirty. And so this is Chuck, right? He's playing these guitar solos every which way. It's all reacting to the moment. He's getting the crowd to jump up for the finale, on stage. And he played rock and roll music, and this was one of the funniest parts of the show, right? There's these guys over in the front smoking some pot. And Chuck's in the line, the way down south they gave a jubilee. The country folks had a jamboree, drinking homebrew from a wooden cup. And then the line is the young folks got dancing, got all shook up, but Chuck changed it to the young folks, they're lighting up, which he then pointed to the guys, and everybody turned and looked at them, and these guys seemed a little surprised to be in the heat of the moment of a center of attention, but everybody laughed and hooted and hollered, and Chuck went right on with the song. And there was another example of him being right in the moment, reacting to things going on. And then eventually, of course, the song comes to an end. Chuck plays his requisite, however long it was, 90 minutes, and he's gone. No encore. Boom, he leaves. And that was the magic of the Chuck Berry concert. Was like I said, he was at once chaotic and beautiful, nostalgic, and totally present. And that's one of the qualities that made him the king of rock and roll, I would say, playing these songs as if it was the first time and the thousandth time. So that's a personal story here on the Music and History channel, and Just to let you know, I have a band. It's called Mystic Twang. That is my music, mystictwang.com. And if you want music lessons, guitar lessons to further get into the magic of Chuck Berry and how he do what he does, or how he did what he do, the descriptions are in the bottom of the video information for lessons in music. And I'm Colin McKay, and I hope you enjoy this story about Chuck Berry.